Hey everyone.
This is Harry from All in One, and I'm going to be the one responsible for giving you movies, series, and probably video game reviews. Like the name of our channel suggests, we're not only going to be doing reviews, we're also going to give you daily news on the same topic, top 10s, discussions, video explanations on whatever you suggest in the comments, and much more. Practically, if it is interesting and you want to hear and/or we want to talk about it, you'll find it here in this channel, hence the name All in One. But that's enough about us, let's move on to the review. Spider-Man Homecoming. This is the 16th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's directed by John Watts and stars Tom Holland as Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, and Robert Downey Jr. in a somewhat small role as Tony Stark Iron Man. Yes, if you were worried about Robert Downey Jr. being throughout the entire movie, you don't need to worry. He's in like probably 4 scenes in total, most of which we already saw in the trailers. And I say somewhat small role because despite appearing in very few scenes, his presence and influence is felt throughout the entire film, and that's something the movie handles very well. But more on that later. The way we're going to do reviews in this channel is the following. It will be in 2 parts. The first part will be the spoiler-free review. I will give you a quick summary of the movie and my initial thoughts. Then I will give you the cons just to get done with it, the pros, brief thoughts, and I will end with my final thoughts. The second part will be the spoiler discussion. I will give a warning for those of you who don't want any spoilers, and then I will continue with an in-depth analysis of the movie, key plot points, more detailed thoughts on the performances, etc. etc. You can think of the spoiler discussion section as a friendly conversation with your friend about the movie. Cons. To be honest, I didn't find any significant wrong things with this movie. This is not a perfect movie by any means, but much like, let's say, the Fast and the Furious franchise, you know what you're getting here. There are other 15 MCU movies. You already know the tone of the movies, you already know they have a lot of comedy, you already know they are very kid friendly. If you don't like this and you don't like any of the previous MCU movies, why are you even watching this one? So, like I said, I didn't find any significant wrong things with this movie. The only thing I could say, and this is just maybe nitpicking, but is that it tries to do maybe too many tie-ins with the other MCU movies. To remind you, the Spider-Man is part of this universe now. Every 5 minutes, you hear things like Iron Man this, the Avengers that, Hulk this, Thor that, Avengers, Avengers, Avengers. The movie even starts right in the aftermath of the Avengers movie. And even in one scene, there are girls playing Fuck, Marry, Kill with the members of the Avengers. Even Vision gets mentioned at one point. And also, apart from all of that, you've got the Captain America educational videos, one of which we saw in the trailers. But again, I didn't find any important bad things with this movie. Pros. There are a lot of good things about this movie. After all, it's a Marvel movie. They're not Citizen Kane, of course, or to be more realistic in the comic book genre, they're not The Dark Knight or Logan. But there are no really bad Marvel movies, and we can all agree they are very, very entertaining movies. And Spider-Man Homecoming does not fail in delivering that. I have always thought the Raimi trilogy had a great Spider-Man, but a somewhat weak performance of Peter Parker in a very good 2 movies. And in the Amazing Spider-Man duology, I think they had a very good Peter Parker and an okay Spider-Man in 2 arguably okay movies. In Spider-Man Homecoming, like we briefly saw in Civil War, we've got a perfect and really organic and balanced portrayal of the two. You see Tom Holland as Peter Parker, and immediately when you see him in his Spider-Man suit, you can see, you know, it's the same kid in that suit and not a body double doing the action scenes. And I really appreciate that because it doesn't throw you out of the movie thinking Peter Parker and Spider-Man are two different actors or even characters altogether. And that's mostly thanks to Tom Holland's performance. Speaking of great performances, Michael Keaton as the Vulture does a superb job as the villain of this movie. For me, Loki still has first place as the best Marvel villain, but Michael Keaton has become my second favorite villain, tied with Kurt Russell's Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And he doesn't need to be too energetic or charming like the previous two to achieve that. Michael Keaton's Vulture is a quiet guy, but intimidating and even likable. All that at the same time. His soft, menacing voice, mixed with his motivations to be the bad guy, is a few of the many excellent things that make him a great villain. And speaking of motivations, his are one of those that make you even root for him. His motivations are not taking over the world or destroying it, which most of the Marvel villains try to do, but much like the Joker, who just wants to watch the world burn, or Loki, who just wants to be recognized by Odin and be an equal to Thor, and be king of Asgard to achieve that. In that regard, the Vulture is very much like them, but he's even more similar to Flynn Marko, the Sandman, in at the beginning of Spider-Man 3. A guy who just wants to provide for his daughter and family, and the only way he sees possible of doing it is by being a criminal, besides the fact of being so beaten up by the system and other people that he doesn't see any other way. Another great thing is Peter's relationship with his friend Ned, played excellently by Jacob Batalon. He is a great comic relief, and you can absolutely buy that they're friends, really good friends in real life. He does a really great job as the guy who is surprised by everything, and he's always in wonder and wants to know more, like us, the audience. And I cannot wait to see what else he does in the future, especially in these movies with Tom Holland at his side. And speaking of comic relief, one of the biggest surprises for me was Zendaya in her role of Michelle. I was really worried when they announced she was going to be in this movie and that she was probably playing Mary Jane because I had only seen her in Disney Channel's Shake It Up, and you know how that's like. But I was pleasantly surprised by her in this role. She doesn't have much screen time, but every time she shows up and speak, and even without speaking, is gold. It's just gold. Everything that comes out of her mouth had me laughing every time. She does a really excellent job, and I was really surprised by her, and I cannot wait to see what her character goes in the next movie. Another kind of surprise was Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan, who had a larger role than I initially expected, a role that perhaps most of the people thought Robert Downey Jr. was going to have. And Marisa Tomei as Aunt May expands on what we saw in Civil War, and she does it great. Contrary to other incarnations of the character in previous installments that were more like an elderly and wise figure, more like a grandmother, May in this movie is more of a friend to Peter than a granny. And I really like that. It gives us a really interesting take on the character and her relationship with Peter. She's not like this wise Gandalf-like figure. She's her friend, and there's a really good relationship, especially when you add Ned in the equation, because he speaks with May, and they're like friends too. They're like three friends, but besides that, she also has that kind of authority and wise side to her. You know, she has everything. She's just perfect in this role. And Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, well, what can we say here about him? He's Iron Man. He's always has been. He is perfect for the role and continues to be. There's not much to add. You know how he's like. You know he's perfect as Iron Man. Uh, I would say a little thing that, like I said before, he doesn't have much screen time, but like I said, his presence and authority are felt throughout the entire film. And because, interestingly, like I said, his presence is felt in the entire film because he lives in Peter's head all the time, who's always thinking in a way of surprising Tony to be part of the Avengers, and that he's a worthy superhero, and to prove that he's more than a kid with superpowers. And that's something I really like in this movie because it makes Tony Stark uh, this idea, this thing that Peter aspires to be, and becomes much more than a character, much like in real life. And the movie, like I said, handles that very well. So, in conclusion, Spider-Man Homecoming is a very, very enjoyable film. It hits every Marvel movie trademark, and keep in mind, this is the fourth movie in this phase 3 of the MCU, and continues what is, in my opinion, a perfect streak of movies this phase has had. I give Spider-Man Homecoming an 8.5 out of 10. Well, that was longer than I expected, and because I don't want to make this video too long, the spoiler discussion will be in the next video, so look forward to that. And don't forget to like, comment and share, and subscribe if you want to see the next video with a spoiler discussion or many other things we will bring you every day. I'm Harry from All in One, and I will see you in the next video.